Hi everyone. I'd like to talk a little bit about my experience with autism. First of all, I didn't know that I was autistic, so it took me a lot of time before accepting myself as being on the autistic spectrum. I don't know, maybe I was maybe more than 25 years old or around that. Um, at some point, I had some suspicions. I was looking at Google about some symptoms of Asperger's syndrome, and I could see myself in some of those symptoms. But at that time, I still didn't accept it. Yeah, I didn't accept myself as autistic. But years later, I truly expected it. I came back and I made more research, and it, it all makes sense to me. It definitely made sense. So I was officially diagnosed by a psychiatrist more than 5 years ago. With only one. Well, I didn't meet him a lot, just a couple times, but I met other people, and he felt that I was probably autistic. So when I met him, I had already accepted myself as autistic, though. So, but let's go back in time a little bit. You know, when I was younger, so even when I was very young, I always felt that I was different. So, I didn't know what it was, but I felt different since I was very young, and up to high school. Even in high school, it was worse. But I just felt that I was different. I Even if I had some friends in primary school, I also had some friends in high school. But bullying was pretty bad in high school. Um, Primary school was kind of fine. It was mostly fine to me, but sure, it's understandable. Sometimes people mock each other, but it's nothing compared to what I experienced in high school. Um, I was very lonely, even if I had some friends. I didn't realize that. Um, so I don't have brothers or sisters, and even if I had some friends in primary school, I I tend to play alone in my garden. Yeah, it's something that happened a lot of times, and I think that thinking about it after the fact, um, like decades later, I think that at the time I just didn't realize how lonely I really was. But it all makes sense now. Yeah, so this wasn't easy. Like I said, in high school, certain things are going to be considered strange by people. You don't necessarily know some of those things are related to autism, but yeah, people may not embrace that. It's also that that I was never really a social guy. Uh, yeah, it was never easy for me to talk with strangers and stuff like that. Never liked it. Um, Later, I realized one of the symptoms of autism, so I don't like to keep eye contact. I realized that this is not something that that I liked. It got a little bit better, but it's still not something that feels natural to me. Maybe except for my parents or maybe some other people in my families, but even then I'm not sure. Maybe only my parents. It's kind of strange. And also, since I have strabism, it makes it even more awkward. So anyway, my experience was very and still very, very lonely. It doesn't matter if I had some friends, and like a lot of times, even if I was with people, it felt like I was still alone, and they just couldn't understand me, and even I knew that I was different. I couldn't understand myself either. So I think that it's important to accept ourselves as a autistic or whatever you are. If you don't know it, but you have a certain condition or something, so I think that it's important to question that, think about it, because it can be freeing, definitely, and it's something that helped me to not care anymore. I'm not trying to justify those things. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm not ashamed of that, of some of those things that people don't like when I didn't like, example, to in high school to go with my friends to certain places. So I never partied, and they invited me sometimes, and I always almost always refused, and to go to those places. And obviously this is something that disappointed them a lot, but I just didn't feel comfortable in those environments. I just prefer to be alone, and that's the thing about autism for me, with my experience with it, is that it's not healthy, but I always felt better alone. Like, it didn't matter how much I liked some people. Like, for me, being alone feels like home. That's just the way it is. But I understand that, I guess, it's not healthy, so you try to force yourself. But after I dropped out of high school, obviously it got even worse. Look at where I am today. More than 1 decade of isolation with absolutely no friends. So almost all this time I was living with my parents, but besides that, that's it. I had no friends, and I was constantly isolated in my room. And I didn't even I stopped eating with my parents a long time ago. I was in high school when I stopped doing it. I ate with them like since high school. Since I dropped out of high school, I think that I ate with my parents a couple times a year maximum. Okay, I was constantly in my room playing games, and even when I wasn't playing games, I was just looking at my computer, and this is something that got worse. I just didn't want to be with them. Didn't care about that. And I also never liked to be touched. Never really liked this thing. I'm not used to it, so of course, if I was more used to it, maybe I could develop it and just feel more comfortable with it. But like I said, I've never been touched really by a woman, so I'm not in that sense. So I have no experience with that. So this is extremely lonely, and I'm extremely repressed, not just sexually. So, and this has been going on for decades. So at some point it becomes much harder. At the time when I was around 18, a little bit more, sure, I wanted a girlfriend, but it still wasn't, that much of a big deal. I was playing a lot of video games, and I cannot say that was hard for me. But a couple of years after that, in my early 20s or a little bit before, around mid 20s, it started to become much harder to not have any affection whatsoever. So I haven't had any affection. Like I don't remember last time I got any affection. Like I was a freaking kid, And you truly have to experience it to know what it feels like. And it's something that adds up. You cannot know it. You have to experience it. And after all those years of isolation and lack of socialization, obviously I developed some health issues specifically related to that. I have some mental disorders and stuff. And, well, in a way I deserve it, but it's not too surprising. What I was doing wasn't healthy. I was constantly, like I said, I was sleeping and getting up at any hour while playing video games, watching movies. And I could wake up at any moment, any time of the day. Yeah, so I was. It was really a terrible moment for me, a terrible time. It took me a lot of time to be able to get up in the morning at a reasonable hour every day. It took me a lot of years to fix that and get rid of my addictions and problems, but I mean, where am I today? I mean, look where I am. So I'm still struggling miserably. So I have to mention that I almost never worked. So I worked a little bit at my dad's business in a grocery store, his grocery store. Probably the equivalent of a couple of months over a couple of years. That's it. Besides that, I have never worked in my life. It just feels that if I don't really like something, I don't do it. So if my parents could feed me and they could feed me, I just don't work. So I had to work a little bit to buy some video game consoles and games at the time. But besides that, if I didn't need something, I just didn't work, so I almost never worked. And like I said, I experienced a lot of problems. I can be very sensible. I guess that a part of the sensibility is related to autism, but also have some gut issues. Maybe this could also be related. So who knows what is specifically related to autism and what is related to something else. But I think that, like I said, a lot of people, they don't know it, but they're kind of on the autistic spectrum. So I highly recommend you to make some research. Think about it, because you're not alone. And some of you will be able to relate to this, what I've experienced, and I can relate to what you experienced. And I am just tired of, a lot of people think that sometimes we're strange, but I mean, look at you, seriously. Look at yourself in the mirror. I think that some of you are going to realize that in reality, you're just much stranger. You just didn't get it yet, but one day you will, trust me. I mean, this is not easy. Okay. Also, because it's not like at this level of autism, I don't necessarily like, some of these people, they look retarded, and the way that they speak, they could really sound retarded. So I think a lot of people today, they still think that most artistic people are like that. Okay, so for a guy like me, for example, and a lot of other people, this could sound like my condition could be treated like a mild form of autism, but this pretty much feels insulting, trust me, to hear something like that. You tell me how mild this is to be 32 years old, to have never had a girlfriend, to be constantly isolated with no friends, nothing, no affection for more than 1 decade, and you tell me that this is a mild form of autism. It doesn't matter. You have no idea what it's like. What people are going through right now. And for some of us, it's unfortunately going to be too late. It's time for the world to wake up. You should recognize this. Most people should have a much better understanding of what autism is all about. And other health issues, for that matter. We have to break stigma related to all of those conditions. We have to start somewhere. Because at this very moment, some people suffer miserably. And who knows what will happen. Some people are on the brink of suicide. Or even worse. I just think that we don't have enough help. Anybody suffering from mental disorders or a lot of health issues in the world, the healthcare system is deficient. And then you wonder, but there's so many tragedies out there that are constantly happening every year. But guess what? They're still going to happen. As long as we don't sit here and take a serious time to talk about what we experience, it's not going to stop. And this is a wake-up call that I'm sending to humanity. It's time to wake the hell up. Thank you.